meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individual and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings in our deliberations and our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September 17th meeting. We're going to open our meeting with a public hearing in regard to the alley next to UDF. So I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Is anybody who would like to address council, guests, or council members, of course, are both all allowed to speak. So where do we begin?
I'm Joe Bittner, one of the two residents.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Oh, do you want me to come on?
Yeah, you're not a Bittner anymore anyway.
No, I'm a Bittner. He became a Bittner. What are you talking about?
Okay, come up to the microphone.
Okay.
Give us your address and your name.
I'm Joe Bittner, 7915 Perry Street. I'm one of the two residents that live off of the alleyway behind UDF, and I'm here representing both of us because the other one is out of town. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's it?
Well, depending on what's said, I'll come up with.
Okay. You're welcome to come up later. Anybody else?
Go for it. Good evening. My name is Tim Kling. I'm the Director of Real Estate for United Dairy Farmers. I'm here, I guess, to talk a little bit about some of this history of the alley and the new UDF store. I think we opened that new store about 8 years ago, approximately. So it's come to light some issues with some accidents that have occurred with people that aren't making the turn properly, probably because of excessive speed, coming into the alley through the UDF parking lot, a lot of times after hours. A few years back, we met with the neighbors, David and Vicky, and we installed a speed bump at that time to try to prevent some of this. We installed a stop sign. I'm thinking the stop sign might have been there when we actually built the facility. It makes sense that it would have been. So we have a stop sign there. Things have continued. My understanding is from them is that there was an accident a few years ago where somebody clipped their car and didn't stop, etc. Then another incident occurred where they came through and hit their car and totaled it. And then the recent occurrence was they had put some flower type of structure, like a planter box full of stone and that, to help protect their vehicles from people that didn't make the turn. And somebody hit that. So we met them out on site, and with my property manager, what we've done since, and the city, one of the city employees met us as well, Justin. We talked through some solutions, right? Because what we're trying to solve for is, people that are, cutting through the UDF lot, not necessarily a customer leaving the lot, cutting from, Hamilton Avenue over to the alley to shortcut at the Adams, possibly traveling at a high rate of speed, possibly, under the influence, in my opinion, because it's after hours, and causing this damage. So we talked through some options. Right now, if it's not installed as of today, it's supposed to be this week, a second speed bump to try to give them more of an alert that, hey, something's coming, you got to slow down.
Mr.
The
Kling,
city
it has
isn't-
been installed.
Please.
It has been installed.
It did get installed. My property manager's out of town today, but he said, hey, I think it's installed by tonight, but we're not sure. So that's been installed. We immediately put up kind of an indicator. Right now, when you take that turn to take that right down the alley coming out of our lot, that curb is, it drops pretty decent between our site. And so you don't recognize that curb. You don't realize what that turn needs to be. We put a reflector on there in hopes that people will visually see something and understand they need to make that turn. So we installed that. That was one of the agreed upon measures with the neighbor and the city to try to prevent the next occurrence. The city put up a right-hand turn sign on the neighbor's property so that a person that is approaching the alley, if they're not familiar with the, the environment, will see that sign and know they have to take a hard right, And so we also upgraded our outdoor camera in hopes that we can capture something next time. Last time we looked at our video, wasn't clear enough, dark, to pick it up, to pick up a license plate. Now we know if somebody does it again, we should be able to pick up the rear of that vehicle and pick up that license plate. Even if it's after hours, if it occurs, they can call our security department and get a copy of that footage. So bottom line is we don't think it's a regular occurrence when we look at our, what that alley did for the UDF store when we rebuilt it, because I purchased those adjacent properties. I think it's been $4.5 million improvement to the community. We had a tired old store there, and I think it's been an improvement. But what the alley does for us is we've got two means of egress now. We got one on Hamilton Avenue, and we have one on Adams. They're directly off our site, and then we have the alley. And that alley really provides for when they're stacking at Adams at the light, it allows for a person to still be able to get out, either get in line to go to the light or take a left on Adams and travel west. That was the whole purpose. Wasn't meant for a cut through or anything like that. And my concern would be that I've heard indications of closing off that curb cut for the UDF is now these people, what are they going to do? Go out onto Hamilton Avenue and cut through that traffic? I mean, I grew up in North College Hill, finished my time in high school on Covered Bridge. I've traveled this thing for years, and I very much understand. I don't live here anymore, but spent plenty of years looking at it, and I know there's heavy traffic at that light, and I think the alley provides a nice alternative means of egress for the store. We start cutting things off on stores like this, and if we start losing traffic, we're going to lose sales, and it goes downhill from there. And we've invested $4.5 million into the Mount Healthy community. All we're doing is ask for, we are trying to take measures to try to solve the problem. We have additionally, personally, I've offered the neighbor that we would be willing, and we offered this when we built the store, we'd be willing to pave further into their property so their vehicles could sit further off the alley instead of the back end of their vehicles sitting at the alley line. They said no. They didn't want to give up any additional green space. Okay, that was their decision. We offered just this last meeting, we'd be willing to put bollards up. I put bollards up at 180 locations to protect our customers and our facilities just last year. I'm very familiar with bollards, and unfortunately in this day and age, people don't pay attention. They're on their cell phones and the way they drive. We have to take these measures to protect things. I offered them bollards to place along there, space them so they can still get their cars in, even make a couple removable, so that in the event they have guests over, they want to pull a couple of those out for more parking, they could do that. They didn't want to go down that path at this point in time. We'll still keep that on the table. And so that's where we stand today. I don't like the fact that people are cutting through there doing that. I wish somebody could enforce something, find these people, but I can't control that.
Yeah, none of us can.
None of us can. I mean, I've got 180 locations that I manage. And do I have any that have as repetitive an issue as this? Probably not. But do I have, over the course of 16 years, 180 stores? Yes, I get it all the time. We can't fix the way people operate, and it's getting worse out there. Mm-hmm. All I can do is I don't want anybody to get hurt, obviously. We can put preventative measures in place, but that's the best we can do, aside from just closing things off when we close the store at night, which isn't really feasible. People will drive through chains. We've seen them do that before too, or they'll sue us because, that same situation where we created that barrier, and they didn't see it or something. So, I mean, that's where we're at. I just wanted to make sure that, our side of the story was heard tonight.
Absolutely.
You know, and we'll continue to work with the neighbor to try to prevent it. But aside from them, moving their cars further in or something, or people just stopping per the stop sign and making that turn properly. I mean, I made it properly. I know how to do it. You know, there's plenty of room there to make it if you stop. It's when you're flying through the stop sign that you can't make the turn.
I have a one-ton dump truck that I drive, and I've come out of there and turned down that alley with not a problem at all. But I'm not speeding or drunk, so.
Right.
Okay, there's been pointed out the speed hump that they put in today covered the blacktop area of the exit ramp. However, you have a concrete area, I guess it's the dumpsters sit on,
Yes.
that they did not put a speed hump over. So really your speed hump can be gone around. I don't know if that's something you want to take a look at.
We talked about that. We talked about extending it. One of the reasons we used the asphalt, so the snow, we were talking about a bolt down type, was that the snow plows tend to grab those and pull them up. So that's why we did the insertion of an asphalt one there. We talked a lot about that going around. In fact, there was some discussion around whether we should try to put bollards, you know, so they can't go around, right? Limit that ingress, egress point. My only concern is we've got tight maneuverability for our semis to deliver the ice cream, and I'm afraid, you know, and they're good drivers most days. I'm afraid they're going to be hitting that thing, unfortunately. You know, again, if a person is going to swing that far out, I mean, they really should, somebody ought to look at their driver's license. And in fact, I've noticed that our employees sometimes will park a car in that last parking spot to prevent that during the day. Unfortunately, at night, you know, that's a wide, you got an extra 20 feet where the parking spaces are, a person can fly up wherever they want and come through there and make a wide turn.
Yeah.
We even talked about putting more speed bumps in or rumble strips. You know, there's a little concern that that particular type of person, it may cause more damage. You know, if they're at a high rate of speed, maybe under the influence, that they hit that stuff, they don't even realize it, and then they're in the air.
Yeah, and out of control.
You know, out of control. Yeah.
Where do your ice cream trucks deliver? Do they go use the alley or?
No, they don't use the alley, but they turn around in our lot and then they back in. They deliver on that, where the dumpsters are, all that concrete, they deliver off of that side of the building there, typically.
They're not using the exit there at all?
I don't think the trucks are coming down that alley. It's kind of tight for the trucks, to be honest with you, for a semi-truck. They're
Yeah.
52s, so. And the gas is the same way. I mean, the gas gets delivered, you know, on that side of the gas canopy, but I'm pretty sure they can come in and circulate. Well, they can get under the canopy for that matter.
I've seen them come in and out. They don't use the alley.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever the intent. That alley was simply the intent of it. And we repaved it. I think we did some storm improvements to it back when we built the store. Because, you know, like I said, we had the old store there, the back faced that alley. The whole intent of that alley was alternative egress. We thought it made sense. I think the city thought it made sense at the time to provide alternative. Otherwise, people, fortunately, they stack at that light and they're not polite enough sometimes to leave a space for someone to get out safely. And even if they did leave space, I get a little concerned that you go through the first, you got 2 lanes to cross to take a left, right? And next thing you know, you're going out there and somebody's flying through the intersection or taking a right on red, whatever's allowed, and, you know, and you're not seen because you're stacked with all these cars. At least you're further away and you have more of an opportunity to see up the hill. Plus, you've got a hill you're dealing with coming down Adams.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for Mr. Kling? Yes.
Okay, so I have had issues accessing my own property with people exiting that won't share the alley. And then I've been honked at, cursed at. I've had people parking in my property, and I've been cursed at by them when I've said, you are on private property, this is not parking for that business. I know it's happened to Vicky and David. I've seen people doing it to the business next door whose only ingress is and egress is now that alley. I've had to call ambulances for medical emergencies, people that have stumbled off of, UDF's property. Just this evening, someone backed down the alley to turn in and park on the concrete pad to go in and use the business. She backed all the way up so that only her front door is visible from the sidewalk in front of the business, or in front of the UDF. And I know at least 2 police cruisers can park side by side with a good amount of space on all sides on the concrete pad. So I don't think any barrier on the concrete would cause an issue for the semis if we can get multiple cruisers parked there during the day. And it does not close unless there's a staffing shortage. It is open 24 hours a day. So, some corrections.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to make comments?
What's the problem with having a gate that shuts at night when you close the store?
Are you think, I mean, if you put a gate at the alley, let's say, you know, the concern would be if a person's coming through there at night in the dark and they're not familiar, which seems like the case with some of these people, that have caused the problem, that they're gonna blow through the gate, you know? Then they'll come after us. I know. Well, and so you're saying it is 24-hour?
Yeah.
See, a lot of the stores went to 20
They're-
hours, and
they're
it's
24
back and
hours.
forth depending on
They
staffing, so.
might close for 1 hour from like 4 AM to 5 AM when they do a mopping of the floor. But unless they post a sign on a specific night stating that staffing is down and they can't be open, they are open 24 hours a day. So, and there's business starting. It's heaviest from 5 to about 8:30 in the morning, and then again about 4:30 to 9 at night. We have constant alley traffic. I stood over there taking care of chickens and counted at least 30 cars in the 20 minutes I was doing chickens, just pulling through the alley to go to the UDF and out. Yeah, and there was no backup at the lights at that point. They were strictly using.
Did you take any notice of where the potential customers are going? Are they actually stopping, parking, and going in the store?
Most are stopping and parking at the UDF parking spots, most of them.
But some of them just
One
are
or two
using it to cut through.
and just cut back out.
Yeah.
They don't have to sit at the light, even though there's no cars at
Yeah.
the light. They just don't want to sit at the light, so, yeah.
Okay.
Is that a ticketable offense? Someone that does what she was stating there?
To cut through a property.
Drive through to avoid the light? That is ticketable offense, yes. But you have to catch them.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have that many policemen.
We can't catch them doing everything else they're doing either, so.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Any other questions, council? Residents?
It's just a concern. Can I speak?
You may. Could you come up to the podium? Give us your name, please, and your address.
Good evening. My name is Getinet Amsalu. I'm a resident at 7718, right next to the municipal building. I've been here more than a year and 11 months. So my concern is drivers who do not give the right of way to pedestrians who have the right way on the entrance to the highway, to the Reagan Highway. So I usually walk and bike, and without no exaggeration, 8 out of 10 motorists disregard people who are crossing. So I'm afraid people will be hit, and most of them who walk on foot are either children, disabled on wheelchair, and some could have mental health issue. So this is a serious thing. As a social worker, this concerns me, and as a citizen also it concerns me. And I'm concerned about my life too, because a few times they just missed me. And the other concern is on the other side of that crossing, the light which shows pedestrians to walk is covered by tree branches, so it's not visible. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions, council? Any more?
I don't have a question. I just think we should close off that exit completely, put up some posts and a guardrail and not let traffic use that exit. I think the 2 exits that they have should be sufficient, and we wouldn't have problems with our residents not being able to use their alley or having people come through there and damage their property.
Okay,
I
thank you,
agree.
sir.
Did you say that that's the way that the ice cream trucks come in for their deliveries?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. Which way do they come in?
If they're coming through one of our other access points, depending on which direction, what type of delivery.
They come in
run
off of
a route.
Hamilton and they kind of pull in and then back into the concrete by going underneath the awning. Sorry, I've seen it a lot. Yeah.
Yep,
Got anything?
I agree with Bob.
Okay, well, we're not making a decision yet tonight. We're just having this public hearing to get voices heard. Anything, Mayor, you have anything?
It's up to council. I'm appreciative that UDF representative came tonight to give the perspective of the traffic situation. And it's up to council. I'm not going to make the decision for council.
I think it could be presented to the safety committee or safety, presented to them and
I
gone
think
over
we do.
some
I think
details
we
on
do.
that.
I think I agree with that.
John's not here.
Mr. Kling, you get the opportunity. I know you got, 160 stores, you said? 180 more. Take a look at that alley and see what you think about extending the blacktop hump. Keep them from going around what you just accomplished today. Just take a look at it and see what you think. And then we're going to keep our eyes open and try to figure out what's the best way to handle this. You obviously don't want the approach closed
No,
for traffic.
absolutely not.
Yeah, so,
And I met with the lenders yesterday afternoon. It's a privately held company still by the lender family. Obviously, they take a lot of pride in the 180 stores that they have built, hard to develop. We've got a $4.5 million investment there that we didn't have to make. We decided to make that investment. We thought it was a great location, bought additional property. So, yeah, I mean, when they heard of this and they know that we've been working with the neighbor for the past few years, they know we've had some resistance over some of the solutions. And they're willing to spend money to help solve it, but we don't have the property to solve it. And so I think they'd be very upset to find out that after the investment we made in the city of Mount Healthy, that one of the curb cuts is taken away. I mean, if that deters business, already, I'll be honest with you, that store does about as good as what the old store did. And we made a $4.5 million investment on something that probably had less than $1 million invested in it before. And it wasn't something to be proud of before, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I grew up in this neighborhood, and I got a lot of these old stores I've been tearing down and rebuilding for years. Those people would love the opportunity. So the last thing we want to do is, shut off one of the access points and risk losing some of the people that, hey, I'm not going in there because I can't get out of there at certain times of the day. I mean, that costs us business.
yeah.
I mean, other people have access to these alleyways. Again, we can't control what the public does.
Right. Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you.
Is there anybody else before I close the public hearing would like to make a statement? Okay, then I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. Thank you all for participating. Mr. Kling, thank you for coming. And keep in touch with Mr. Bauer about this and keep updated. And we'll see how things work out. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on with our council meeting now. So, roll call, I guess, is where we're at.
Excuse me. Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Redding? Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, Mr. Redding is under the weather tonight.
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Redding.
Mr. George has made a motion to excuse Mr. Redding. Do I have a second? Ms. Rissel has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And the minutes, you have in your packet the minutes from the September 3rd meeting. Are there any corrections or alterations that need to be made for this? Well, if nobody has any objections, I'd like to make a motion, or ask for a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 3rd meeting as printed.
Mr. Parsons has made a motion to accept the minutes as printed. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Mr. Young has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, correspondence. You have some reports, mostly the police report on your desk or in part of your packet. We won't go over them individually right now. Take a look at them and check with Mr. Bauer or the police chief over them. Okay, guest and special events. Hamilton County Commissioner Denise Treehouse. Would you like, I know.
Snuck in during your public comments. I'm going to pass out what I'm going to talk about here. It's a menu of opportunity that highlights. Hello, how are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Highlights some of the partnership opportunities between the county and the 49 jurisdictions in the county, of which Mount Hope is one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm only going to take a couple minutes. So some of you, I don't remember who was here last time I was here, but I'm doing my 49 and 49. So I go visit all 49 jurisdictions in the county. Originally, I tried to do this in 49 days. That did not work out. I did it like in 49 weeks, but at least I did it. And this was back in 2017 when I was first elected to the county to really better understand the communities in the county and then to introduce myself as a partner. And so here I am, like a bad penny. I'm back again. But this time I've got this menu and it's expanded from last time I was here. And so we are trying very hard as a county to work in partnership with all 49 jurisdictions in Hamilton County. And this lists out some of the opportunities that exist. Some of the increased opportunities you're going to find under the economic development part on the left-hand side. So we are doing revitalization grants, hoping that communities will apply for these grants for a catalytic project that may exist in your community that you simply don't have like the last dollars in for. That's where we come in and say, if you have got a project that's going to revitalize economic development in your community, please apply for the money. The grant is a little over $1 million total, and so it's fairly competitive, but many of the jurisdictions have applied and gotten that grant, so I would encourage you to take a look at that. And then we've got a small events grant, and then we've got a facade grant. If you all, I've got a cheat sheet with me, and I'm going to read through it in a second, but the facade grant applications close on, oh, they just closed. Well, I'm going to take that right back, because they just closed.
We applied.
On the 16th, you did, all right, very good. Yeah, I feel like you've taken advantage of those already. And so, as you can see, it can be buying salt together, it can be maintaining fire hydrants, it could be a myriad of things where we partner, but this gives you a good idea of some of the things that are available. And if you guys are already applying, I applaud you for the partnership, because that's the whole reason I'm here. A couple other things just by way of kind of an overview of the county, just kind of an update. Related to this area, we are redoing our 911 and EMA facility. So when you think about the county, and last time I was here, I could not have said we had a structurally balanced budget, but I can say that now. And we are paying people decent wages. We're giving raises every year, as we should. We've got a parental leave policy. We're trying to retain and recruit individuals into our organization that want to be there, that want to stay, that want to work. It matters to you all because your constituents are counting on us. So when you call 911, you want somebody with some experience to answer that call. And to be able to respond appropriately. When we have a disaster in the area, we need a good emergency management agency responding to those disasters, and not only that, getting communities prepared for disasters. I mean, you're counting on us to have deputies over in the Justice Center and to have a court system that runs, right? That's what the county does. We're kind of the safety net organization. And so we are doing that work, and we are trying to dignify the work of the people that work for us. And one of the areas where we were having a very hard time recruiting and retaining individuals was 911, because it's so stressful. I mean, people are calling you on their very worst day all the time, all day, right? So we had people, we were training them, but then they would leave for higher wages in Warren County, in Butler County. I mean, it was just not to our advantage at all. And so we're hearing from those employees, ask them, you know, what is it? Competitive wages are always a part of the equation, but it was also the facility in which they work. I don't know if any of you have been to the 911 facility, but it's rather dark, it's rather close. These people are taking calls, I mean, this far away from one another, and they're really important calls, and so it can be very stressful. And no break room, you know, no nothing like that, you know. And so we said, well, we will look around and see if we can move you guys. It takes a lot because there's a lot of equipment and technology in these buildings. So we are retrofitting a building, not building new, but rather retrofitting a building in Springdale for the purpose of moving 911 into that facility. It's brighter, it's bigger, it gives them some space to spread out a little bit. We're also moving EMA into that building. EMA is in Lower Price Hill right now. We're renting out space, which doesn't make any sense in this case. And so EMA and 911 have a relationship, and so we're putting them together in a building right up the street in Springdale. And so it is a good example, I think, of the county trying to be more efficient and then recognizing the needs of the workforce. The other thing we're doing is putting a satellite site up in Forest Park. Forest Park is the second largest city in Hamilton County and ways away from the county buildings down in the city of Cincinnati. And so we are trying to be more responsive to the entire county, not just the urban core, but rather all of the communities that exist outside of the city of Cincinnati. They are very important to the region and an economic driver, but we want to also recognize that we're serving an entire county here. And so we're going to put a satellite site up there. There will be services that we have going into that building, not all, but some, to just make them more accessible to people. So those are the kinds of things we're doing. There was a lot in the news last week about the Bond Hill site. We are moving some of our departments into the Bond Hill site over where Mercy is moving out. Big, beautiful facility. They're anxious to get out. They put $30 million into the deal for us and threw it in a parking garage. And so we are using the proceeds of selling other buildings, moving those organizations into one. Again, a very efficient way to do business. It's a nicer place for our employees to work, and it's also free parking for our clients, which is a really big deal. If anybody's tried to come down and visit any of us down where we are in the city, it's really hard to find a parking space. And if you do find one, it's pretty expensive to do it, right? And so we've got free parking in this facility. So JFS is going up there, environmental services, public health, veteran services are going up there. It's fully accessible. And so we're trying to just look at our portfolio always and use taxpayer dollars wisely and really provide better service in the end. So that's my update on the county. There's lots going on. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. We had a bit of a presentation today related to the stadiums that you all own, by the way, the assets down on the riverfront. But we're working on that deal with the Bengals and others to try to figure out what we need to do, what we can do, and how much money we have to do it. And try to create a partnership with the state, with the NFL, with the Bengals, with the county, to try to get some real forward-thinking renovations done that make the stadium more accessible. But I'm happy to go into detail if you want me to, but that happened today. So if you have any interest, and I always hear, how's it going with the Bengals? So the renderings of that new facility, if we get there, and we're not likely to be able to do everything because of our finances and what we've got available to us, but you will see some pretty cool renderings and some ideas about, you know, what we can start thinking about by way of keeping that asset that the Bengals play in that belongs to you up to speed and attracting concerts and other kinds of things outside of football games, which are very important, but not the only thing we should be doing in that stadium. So lastly, I'm going to talk about Mount Healthy. Again, I'm here because I am grateful for the partnership with Mount Healthy. I do this in every community and have a little bit of a cheat sheet to see what the relationship looks like, just so that you know. So you all have actually received quite a lot of resources from the county, I'm proud to say, and I think you should be proud to have me say it. 3 recycling grants. It's the Recycling Incentive Program over the last 3 years. You've gotten some facade improvement grants. It says CDBG, is that correct? CDBG dollars. Streetscaping and other facade improvement. And then you got a public Wi-Fi grant in 2021 for $150,000. So the total of all these grants is $277,469. So I want to say, I think you're punching above your weight here in Mount Healthy. That's what I have to say about that. And so we're grateful for the partnership that, you know, we can have the money available all day long, but if you all don't apply for it, it doesn't mean anything. So the better you do, the better we do. And so we're happy to try to be helpful. So that's all I've got. I'm happy to answer questions if you have them, but I do appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we sure appreciate you coming out.
And
Sure thing.
Questions, council?
Yeah, thanks, Denise.
I just want to say that you came to the Healthcare Connections ribbon cutting, and I was on city council, and I convinced you to go to Square Mile Coffee.
That's right.
And you went to Square Mile Coffee, and they're expanding. And we now did the community impact, so now we're working with Harry Blanton.
Good.
And we're taking full advantage of whatever we can get through the
Do
county
it.
because, as I told you when we met at that time, is that we're more than just the city of Cincinnati. A lot of the residents are out here in the county, and knowing that some of those services are coming out here are extremely important. And knowing we're going to be the second main line on the metro is very important because it accesses people to be able to go downtown, to enjoy the things that are in Cincinnati, not have to pay $20 to park, to be able to have jobs that they can go to using the metro. I had 2 women that stayed with me from Ukraine. They're in the community now but cannot drive. The metro and the metro now is extremely important to them to have their jobs, and I know it's just not them. So, you know, out here knowing that some of these services are coming out is extremely important. And the 513 bus, I don't know if that comes out through the county. That's been out here twice this year. It's just very important. So we appreciate, and this is good, isn't it?
Did you love it?
Because we've been like on the website trying to figure this stuff out. It's like, what's coming up next?
You got
What
all the
can we apply
contacts,
for?
and
Huh?
they know I'm passing it out, so you know.
Yeah,
And
it's-
our contacts are on the back, so you got all 3 county commissioners on the back, but then you've got the most important people, which are the people that do all the work. And so, yeah, the contact information's there. If you find something that's incorrect, let me know and I'll update it. But as I've been going around, I make sure that to highlight that these are the people that are getting it done at the county.
Yeah, we thank you.
Thank you, though. Yeah, appreciate it.
Anybody else have any questions?
Okay, thank you. I
Thank you,
appreciate that
Ms.
so much.
Treehouse.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is a tight squeeze over here.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we need money for a larger council chamber. Okay. Moving along to public input. Anybody else here who would like to address council? Please come up to the microphone. Okay.
Hello, y'all.
Hello.
My name's Renee. I live at 7857 Martin Street. I am here on behalf of the Forest Avenue Wetlands Park, just giving y'all an update. Aaron's not here, be able to hear, so I'm here instead. So just want to give y'all an update of our 2023-2024 season. It was awesome. We did a lot. So first off, we completed all of our grants. So we purchased tools. We got some information boards put up. We purchased native plants that have been planted throughout the park. Purchased about $1,700 of those. We pruned a bunch of trees on the lawn and away from trails, so we kind of raised the canopy, so kind of be away from people enjoying the park. We did remove a hazard tree, so there's a big black cherry coming over the parking lot, and we were worried that would possibly fall on somebody's car. So we did take that down. That's good to go. And then we established a iNaturalist project. So iNaturalist is a app where you can basically identify plants, bugs, animals, whatever. And we've established one in the park. So we have had over 300 observations that identified over 207 species of all kinds of organisms, plants, animals, insects, the whole thing. So just basically showing anybody who goes on there how biodiverse this park is and how special this park is. We had 3 honeysuckle removals, and we kind of focused along the trails to open up more space so you can kind of see further into the park. Those were great. We had wonderful turnouts, about 30 to 40 people at every single one of our removals, which is amazing. And then we also partnered with the Mount Healthy Honor Society, like for the high school. We had 2 winter creeper pools with them, and they had an absolute blast. And that was really special. We are looking forward to doing more with them this coming winter. The kids had a blast. I know their teacher sponsor, Miranda, had an absolute ball with it, and they really, really enjoyed getting into the park and realizing that it's there. And several of the kids were very nervous, and at the end they're like, I did the thing, I did it. So it was very special to see, and I wanted to make sure everyone else knew that too. Last thing we did, we had a Eagle Scout project. So a girl, I don't think she's here today, her name is Emily Jellison. She completed an Eagle Scout project here. So she got 20-ish volunteers, and we had involvements from various community members. So she did about 2 years worth of work for us, to be honest. And so she repainted, we repainted the entrance sign, so if you go there, it looks beautiful now, fresh coat of paint. It will definitely last for another 20 years. She was able to get the park benches stained as well as the cooktops. So those are nice and protected from the elements. It was just raw wood. They installed the 3 information boards that we were able to purchase with our grants. So we've got 3 very nice boards, and we look forward to filling them with information about the park, things you can do in Mount Healthy. Excuse me. We also installed trail markers. So we've got 3 official trails now. So if you go to the park, you'll see not only the trail signs, but the names. So we've got the Sycamore Trail, the Brickyard Trail, and La Boiteau Pond. And then she helped us plant all those native plants. So we had 2 plantings worth, so she helped us with that. And then, so we stained and added mulch to the play gym that's currently there. And then they helped us do some trash pickup. And that was my favorite part of the whole thing, to be perfectly honest with you. That was very special.
Picking up trash?
I'm sorry?
Picking up trash for your
No,
favorite
the
thing?
Eagle Scout project.
Oh, okay.
We were absolutely honored that she chose us for her Eagle Scout project, and we are hoping that maybe we can convince more scouts to do it with us.
Great.
Yes. Any questions for me?
Well, a big thank you from me.
Hopefully the street will be finished soon and people can get there
So
very easily.
it is much better with the parking. There's a lot less traffic and a lot less cones. So yes. But we look forward to our upcoming season. So
Thank you for coming up and
Wonderful.
bringing us up to date.
Thank you very much.
thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address council? Yes, Jim, come on up.
Good evening, Jim Lowenberg, 1418 St. Clair Avenue, and I had 2 items I wanted to bring up. The first is, I'm sure sometime in the next few months you'll be discussing electric aggregation. And as you may remember, with the last contract, after several years of including people who had solar energy and net metering in it, the current provider said, oh, we can no longer do that. So the irony is those of us who have solar energy can no longer take advantage of the lower rates through aggregation and are forced to use the higher rates from Duke Energy. The provider who was chosen by the city said, the Public Utilities Commission does not allow us to use net metering, which is erroneous according to the Ohio Consumers Council. In fact, they did do it before. Other providers and other municipalities do include net metering. So I would encourage that as you start looking at new providers, that you insist that they have to do that. And if your consultant says it can't be done, I would look for another consultant. Because it can be done, other cities are doing it. The response they gave was inadequate and just wasn't challenged by the consultant. So those of us who are trying to do better are not allowed to. So again, when the lecture, I think that comes up in the spring, is that right?
I think it's the following year, or what?
It's been 2 years already.
I'd have to look. I mean, yeah, be here before you know it, but.
So, anyway. So that was the first item. The second item is.
Jim,
Yeah.
one other item.
Yeah.
Can you go out and find your own electric and do net metering?
I can do it if choosing another company to do it. A lot of those require a year contract though, and I haven't done that in anticipation of the city revising this contract. I don't want to sign a year contract and have the city offering a different opportunity for me in February. My recollection was it's February, March, somewhere in there. So yes.
All right.
And of course, the irony of it is I'm the one who brought this whole thing to City Council a number of years ago, suggesting that the city start the whole aggregation program. The second item I wanted to bring up is an item that you talked about at the last council meeting and is on the agenda for tonight about adding the temporary dumpster language. And my understanding from when Justin was here last meeting, that the reason this came up was that Bill Knight was trying to deal with some dumpsters that were parked on the street, not on residential property, but on the street. There is some sort of a rule, Justin said, but Bill did not have a way to enforce that rule. So did some research and suggested this language be put in there. I think this language is great. However, it says that this is for dumpsters on residential property. So it doesn't even address the issue that prompted this, which was dumpsters on the street. So it seems to me that if you're going to adopt this language, it should be more than just dumpsters on residential property, but should also address the dumpsters on the street. And there may be language already in a city rule somewhere that needs to be referenced. So as long as you're making the change, I would suggest that you make it as comprehensive as possible.
Yeah, good point, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address council? Okay, we're going to move on then. Committees and commissions. Beautification, Denise.
No report.
Business partnership, Mr. Young.
No report on that.
Alliance,
The economic development.
yes.
Yep. Yard and Company had their first strategic meeting. I'm still waiting to get a report back on that, how that went. I know Mr. Redding was there, I believe, and Ms. Dosa possibly was there, so we'll find out what they're doing as far as the what they're doing with Yard and Country, so or Yard and Company. So that's all I got right now.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Mr. Young? Finance, Mr. Parsons.
Yeah, the Finance Committee met before this meeting to go over the actual expenses and revenues through August. And revenues are doing very well, over budget at this point, but that still remains to be seen how it'll be for the year. We did have some questions on some of the expenses, but they were all answered, and they seem appropriate, and we seem to be on a good path for the rest of the year, but we will keep watching it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Library, Ms. Dosa.
Thank you. The library is in preparation to move to the new site. So therefore, October events may be limited due to the approaching move. I think if you haven't noticed, the old CVS parking lot had the parking lot, no pun intended, redone in anticipation of that, of the new opening of the site, and that is still looking as if November. So, right. I'm sorry, that might be.
Parks Commission?
Parks Commission. We had a meeting today, and we went over a lot of different things. We discussed The wrap-up, we talked about the concert series that just wrapped up not too long ago. We're looking at the upcoming 2025 concert series, looking into new bands and new acts for the park. We are going to be working aimlessly on that in the next couple of months to get that all done before the new year, actually. We have an upcoming movie in the park for October 25th. So mark your calendars for that. Snacks will be provided, weather permitting, about 7 p.m. when it's dark. Movie to be determined. We're still waiting on a decision from the ODNR in regards to our grant, but the last thing that I heard is that we should have a decision by November. We have an upcoming trunk and treat in the park hosted by Peachtree, and it'll be on October 31st from 5 to 8 p.m. If you would like to make any donations in terms of candy or treats, you can do that and make arrangements for them to be picked up here at City Hall. Also, going back to upcoming events for the park, we were working towards Christmas in Mount Healthy and how the park will be hosting different things. So more details for that to follow upcoming, but it looks like we're going to have a lot of great events. So just keep your eyes and ears open for more details about that upcoming. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. I apologize. The next Park Commission's meeting will be October 15th, 6 o'clock in Chambers, before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Redding is not here for safety. Does anybody else know anything about that? Who else is on the safety committee? Okay, schools, Mr. George.
A few things. Next Tuesday night, there is a fall parent information night hosted at the high school from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then additionally next next week on Friday night, it's homecoming for football. So I don't know for sure if they're going to have the whole homecoming parade and everything, but that would be earlier in the day. And there is also a alumni event that night hosted at the high school from 5 to 6:30 p.m., then the game at 7. So a lot going on next week.
Thank you,
That's
sir.
all I have.
Questions for Mr. George? Okay, streets, Ms. Rissel?
Not much, except I did see that Madison was finished, being paved. Scott said maybe the painting was gonna be done today, and floor should be done too. That's all I have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Mayor's report, Ms. Moody.
Yes, today I had the pleasure of greeting the Joe Nuxall Miracle Walkers. They were doing a 21-mile trek down to the baseball stadium, and they ate lunch at Brotherton's. And from what I gather, this is what they usually do. They stop at Brotherton's. So I was able to see them as they were coming out of Brotherton's and thanking them for stopping at Brotherton's, and also the appreciation of what they were doing. I took a picture of the walkers. We'll put it on the Facebook site for the city, and also where people can donate to the Miracle League, which I'm sure you all are aware does amazing things. And I presume they walked from their stadium in Fairfield all the way down and back, so it was a 21-mile. So that was nice to see.
Good walk.
Lunch. Okay, I went to the We Thrive meeting this evening before council, and they have an active transportation plan that will be presented October 1st at the council meeting. And the gentleman who brought up the walkability situation down by Ronald Reagan, and you are absolutely correct. Many people have to walk there, and it can be pretty dangerous. The walkability plan is going to be a map and availability for people to say, have the safest places to walk in our community from one point to another, especially when you're trying to get to different places. I do think in the future, as this, we're working with the county on this, as sidewalk, conditions of sidewalks, and also safe ways of being able to cross and get to where you need to be is going to be extremely important as we talk about this. So you might want to come back October 1st, sir, and listen to the presentation and maybe find out more information. They had a grant, a Poetrist grant, where they're putting up displays where student poetry from the high school can be displayed. 3 of them have been put up, wetlands, and so they've got a couple other locations that they're trying to have installed. October 25th from 5:30 to 7, they're going to have a ribbon cutting and celebrate with the students that are going to create the poetry with their families at Ticoon Farm. So there'll be a little meal, and then people can walk and see where the poetry is being displayed. Talked about the chalk contest that they usually have at the high school. We're trying to bring it down here in the city, and so we're working on that. And so hopefully in May, we'll have some amazing chalk artistry done in different parts of the city that recognize what they do. They've always done up at the high school, but kind of bring it down into the city. There's going to be a speed networking event October 10th that We Thrive has. It'll be at the Woodlawn Rec Center. I've been to those before. It's like speed dating, only it's speed networking, and it's to get involved with other communities and what they're doing and kind of share resources and information. The other thing that they talked about is that on April 25th of next year, the We Thrive Committee at Mount Healthy School District, and they're coming now to this We Thrive meeting, so we're partnering. They had a 5K last year. They called it Sidewalk Shuffle. They want to expand it to the whole community, and so they're going to be meeting with you, Mr. Bauer. I didn't get a chance to tell you this. As chief, to try to decide how they're going to be. They have a path. They're hoping for more participation this year. So you can either run the 5K or you can walk it. So they're working on that. And that's all I have from the We Thrive meeting. One of our small business owners has now purchased a home in Mount Healthy. She's very excited about it. And I visited her home yesterday. She's renovating the inside of it. And she showed me the letter that we give to new residents. And I want to say, I felt real proud, and I had nothing to do with it. And I shared it with Mr. Bauer today. It was an extremely welcoming letter about how important it is for to be a homeowner in our town, and also all the resources and things you needed to know. So she liked it so much, she wants to keep it because, well, not only does it have information, but she really felt very welcomed as she purchased the home in town. So I thought it was a nice thing to be able to hear from somebody, a new resident. I want to talk about Fibonacci. They're having an event this weekend. They're having a Shakespeare event, what they've done in the past. It's not the Shakespeare company that we usually contract with sometimes, but it's a group. I witnessed it last year. It's funny and it's good. And they're going to have that, but also they're going to have from noon to 11 o'clock on the 21st, this Saturday, a craft market, a pop-up craft market. They will have food, music, and they'll have new beer releases. So it's always important to support our small businesses, and I just wanted to highlight what they're doing. They also, during the month, and this Wednesday will be one of their science times, and I've been there, and they're pretty amazing, the science times. Some of the things they've talked about, and you really learn a lot, and there are probably about 20 to 30 people that come to those science times. So they'll be having one this Wednesday at 6 p.m. I also would like to say that the Haunted Hall will be opening up, I believe September 29th or something. It'll be Friday and Saturday, 8 to 11, Sunday, 7 to 9. And what's really interesting about this is that, you know, this has been known in Hamilton County for many years. This is done by the Scouts. I've been through it, and I mean, I don't like haunted halls, but it's scary. And they do a really neat event in that they have a Super Sunday where you bring soup, cans of soup, cans for the Alliance where you get a discounted rate, and then they'll have an event during the day on a Sunday where kids can just walk through and it's not dark, and they have different things for kids, so that's fun too. And American Legacy Tours will be starting their Haunted Mount Healthy tours this weekend. It's sold out. And if you can ever sign up for the American Legacy Tours, they have come to Mount Healthy. And they not only have the haunted tours, but they're also going to have their Christmas tour that they did last year, which is kind of a haunted Christmas tour. And they're also creating another historical tour that they'll be unveiling next year. And it's amazing because they start at the brewery, which I think is great, and they're usually sold out, and they're sold out this weekend. And so if you want to ever experience that, I think it's a great thing to do as far as supporting that. And it's very exciting that American Legacy Tours has brought this out to Mount Healthy, and it's getting such a good response. And I think that is all.
Thank you, Mayor. Questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on. City Manager's Report, Mr. Bauer.
A few items here. See, Cordell, you had mentioned the homecoming, that you weren't sure if they were doing it? Is that what you had said?
Parade.
It's gonna be next Thursday. They are doing the homecoming parade, is that?
The parade on Thursday?
Yeah, next
Oh,
Thursday,
okay.
yep. Let's see. For police department, our one recruit who's in, the academy at the moment, there's been a few dropouts, and he is not one of them. He's still going strong. It's very boot camp-like, the one that he's going to, so happy for him. He's holding strong. Public Works, the Compton Perry, you still see the cones up. We've got everything on order. It'll take a minute to get everything installed. We've got to get the ground painted and everything like that, but hopefully next week we can hit the ground running with all that. Don't know if anyone noticed any construction equipment in the parking lot up there. There's just been water puddling up in there for the longest time. Justin and his crew dug it up. You can see the old foundation of the building that used to be there, and just for whatever reason, there's just a pipe going into the basement that was there, and it looks like it's just the normal water that was part of the building, and it's just started to leak. So it's just like a garden hose, just been, who knows how long it's been leaking for. So I think I don't think it's turned off yet, but Waterworks is coming out there soon we've got the water diverted, so it's not pooling up anymore, but.
Pay that water bill that's been running for 20 years.
It doesn't look like it's metered. I don't know who's gonna end up with it. See, there's a sinkhole in the park, if anyone's noticed that the camera crew will be out Thursday to kind of, there's sewer and water there, so we're kind of still trying to figure out exactly what's causing the sinkhole. There's another sinkhole on Adams. It's right at the border. I think it's technically in Springfield Township. I was looking over the old maps on Google Street View with Justin today, and you can see going back 10 years, just paint on the ground where just various groups have gone to try to figure out what the issue is. We contacted Springfield Township. It sounds like they've had it snaked before, or cameraed before. They didn't do anything about it, which I don't know if that means they found that the problem was on our side of the line and they just decided to leave it, but we're gonna try to fix that. We've got a number of complaints for that. As I mentioned before, I did apply for the county facade grant. That's $50,000. Hopefully we'll receive good news here in the near future for that. That's it for my normal report. So I had a couple of things on your desk. One report's in front of you, Cordell, and I think one in front of you, Bob. You'll each have a timeline here, but then there's also a report about a particular house on Bernard you guys will have to share. So 7437 Bernard burned up on January 1st, 2023. We're getting close to 2 years now, and no work has been done on the property. Doesn't look horrible from the outside, but I unfortunately didn't have any picture. You're looking at the pictures, that's mostly from the exterior. Tried to get some from the interior, didn't have any. But basically, it's $100,000 worth of damage. None of the owners or stakeholders have taken in really any interest in actually ponying up the money to fix it. So what Bill Knight is recommending, and we've done this before, I believe it was 2044 Compton. I think it was about $10,000 worth of demolition. We demoed the house and assessed it to the property. You don't get ownership of it, but you hope whenever the property sells, you make that back in the taxes that are paid to you. But so basically going to ask for a public hearing that will give the owners a chance to show up and plead their case as to why they've not invested the money, and if they truly do have plans to do it. Although I'd say almost 2 years on, it doesn't sound like they're serious about rehabbing it. But again, it's going on 2 years now. So don't know exactly when we want to have that scheduled, but I'll have to get with Bill exactly on, I don't know how much notice, frankly. I should have come with that number in my mind. I don't know what the notice needs to be to each party to do it, but we'll have a public hearing, and then council would pass an ordinance, and then we would pursue demolishing the structure. Again, can have, we put a notice of public hearing. I can have Bill come up here to discuss more, but, I mean, again, we've done this before with, I can't remember how long ago it was on Compton, but, or Adam, sorry. We have done it before. It's his recommendation, yeah. That is the extent of my report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Questions? Okay, thank you. On ordinances and resolutions, we have a second reading of an ordinance, number 24-2049, an ordinance to amend Chapter 155.091, the general provisions, building and structures of the Mount Healthy Code of Ordinances. We had the first reading on this on the 3rd of September.
I don't think there's copies in your packet, so you'll have to have them from last week. I did provide the permit. This is the permit that Justin was referencing at the last meeting. So we have been having people, we ask that they fill this out, but there's nothing in our code that forces anyone to fill this out. To Jim's point, it does say residential property, that it has to be on the property, not on the street, and I guess my question would be, do we want them to put it in the street? I mean, we could change it to allow it in the street. A lot of people do that, but is that what we would want? I mean, I think it's probably an easy change if we want to allow that as well, or we just make it that, no, it has to be in your driveway or on your grass. That kind of be council's decision if they want to change it.
There may be instances where there's just no place on the property.
Sure.
I think you need to allow for that.
Mhm.
As a former contractor, there was just sometimes you can't find a place to put them. Just special circumstances. And once again, as was mentioned, you know, you need to put plywood or a 2x8 underneath the wheels so you don't damage the road. You know, those kind of things, but,
I mean, we kind of mention it in the permit. We say, where I just saw it.
Number 3 is a sidewalk, though.
Yeah, only upon special provisions will the use of the sidewalk be allowed. So, I mean, you could, and obviously that's in the permit, that would, something like that, if we wanted to have a special provision for putting it on the road, we would want that to be in the code. But something to that effect, that we could allow a variance or, you know, whatever you want to,
right.
whatever you want to term it.
In or next to the roadway, must have.
Comments, council?
Could strike, could you strike residential if that was a concern you wanted to address from the very first sentence? Well, I guess residential is in here a couple times. It's in the first sentence, it's in item 1.
Jen pointed out.
So the word residential could be struck, I think, and it would just say on a property, on properties.
Right, so property, or, and street.
This is not a big, huge emergency, is it? Can we table this tonight and
Yeah.
look into that for the next meeting?
That's
I
fine,
agree.
no
Good.
problem.
Better wording and make sure it's all covered.
I know Justin talked about the blocking of underneath the dumpster on the street, but we need, to Jim's, what he said, if there is an ordinance for that, then, or a requirement for that, I think that needs to be addressed in here as a reminder.
Official language, the
The
ordinance
language.
says, yeah,
Refer to that ordinance, whatever it is.
Just
it
so
says
they know.
ordinance or requirement.
right.
Okay, so we're tabling ordinance 24-2049. So you take a look at if you're looking at the copy of the ordinance that come with your packet. You need to scratch out, the ordinance number was 24-2409. That is the wrong number. It's ordinance number 24-2049. So you want to change 2409 to 2049. 2409.
Yeah, we had a revised. Yeah.
And moving on to the first reading of an ordinance. An ordinance assessing cost of the removal of high grass and weeds and declaring an emergency. That is ordinance number 24-2050.
I don't have any special information on these guys, just people that didn't mow the grass.
Would you like the two reading rule be suspended so you can get it down to the county, or?
Great.
Yep. Gotta do that.
Anybody like to make that motion?
I make a motion, we suspend the two reading rule on ordinance 24-2050.
So Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt,
And I second.
or suspend ordinance number 24-2050. Mr. George has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote.
I'm sorry, roll call vote. You're right.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons? Mr. Redding? Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance 24-2050 has been suspended of the two reading rule. Any questions, comments?
To adopt.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to adopt ordinance 24-2050.
I'll second.
Ms. Denise Lingo has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons? Mr. Redding? Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
By a vote of 6-0, ordinance 24-2050 is adopted. And we have one more, ordinance number 24-2051. An ordinance assessing cost of the vacant and/or foreclosed property, registration fees, and declaring an emergency.
So I believe we've done maybe one or two properties this year, but you can see the number of properties that are on this list, far more than we've done in the past. This is a direct result of the legislation we passed before allowing vacant and foreclosed properties. It used to have to be both vacant and foreclosed. Now it's vacant or foreclosed. So I would imagine most of these properties are just vacant. They're not effective, they're not officially in foreclosure. That's why we're able to assess these, because we've assessed them to be vacant for, I don't recall off the top of my head exactly how many days it needs to be that they've been vacant, but we're now assessing this, that they need to be on our list, they need to provide us proper contact. This protects us if there's damages, if we need to board it up, any kind of damages that could result that we might have to cover because there's no one living there to take care of it. So that's why there's so many of these now, is because of the previous legislation that we just passed.
Questions, council?
Some of these are duplicative properties. They're duplicative properties.
What is that? What?
Yeah, I was wondering. Some of these are duplicative properties. Like the 7, 12, 14 was on the last one for Clovernut.
See, this is the same
And it's on the same for this one. And the other one for,
On the previous
on the previous
ordinance.
one.
previous one.
Oh, you're saying they're on the
Both.
high grass? Yeah,
Yeah.
because they are vacant, yeah. But they're not in foreclosure. So before, if we had not passed legislation, we would not be able to assess this fine
Sorry.
and place them on our list. And
So if a resident knows of a house that's been vacant for a while, they could call the city, because I'm thinking of the house next to the Sturworths on Adams. That's been vacant for years,
It's not mine. I know what house you're talking about.
right? Well,
We have raccoons constantly coming in.
yeah,
and
but
out
I'm
of that
saying
house.
that could be on this list too, because I know that's a problem property, so.
Yeah.
But hey, you asked this to be declared an emergency. Do you want the two reading rules suspended, or do you want, I mean, emergency just
do it in one reading, and then, yeah, we could get it assessed as soon as possible. Yeah.
So when we declare it an emergency, it's basically saying we're losing a 30-day waiting period after it's passed.
Right.
So that's why I asked. Okay. Questions, council?
I'll make a motion to excuse the, suspend the two reading rule.
Mr. George has made a motion to suspend the 2 reading rule. Ms. Rissel has seconded. Roll call when you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Mr. Redding? Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the 2 reading rule has been suspended for ordinance 24-2051. What is your wish, council?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 24-2051.
Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt said ordinance.
I'll second.
Mr. George has seconded. When you're ready.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mr. Parsons? Mr. Redding? Mrs. Dosa?
Aye.
Mr. George?
Aye.
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mrs. Rissel?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 24-2051 is adopted. We have no other legislation. Old business, council. No old business? New business?
For, I guess maybe this was old business, UDF, we mentioned a safety council meeting, is that, or I don't even know if it would be streets.
For streets, yeah.
Or both. I mean, it's easy enough for Scott to prepare the legislation, it's kind of the process we want to go through to make sure we're on board with it, but also to make sure that we're on board with it, we get the public input we want. I mean, is that the route we want to go,
Do we want to
Committee.
just schedule a work session?
can do that? Is there additional information? I mean, we can put the traffic counter out there. I mean, I don't know what other data to provide. I mean, Mr. Kling kind of said the things they were willing to offer.
Has the traffic counter been put there?
We put it, yeah, I've got a report from it, yeah. I want to say it was like 200 a day, and it did go down to, I feel like we cut it in half to maybe 100 a day. I mean, it's still a lot for that little alley, but I'd have to look to remind myself the numbers. We can put it there again. I'd be curious, especially after the speed bump that's put in there.
Well, we need to do something with it, other than just ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need a meeting to talk about it, and why, like you say, what can we do to get more information?
I mean, I can have, I can have Justin at least get quotes as to what would be the best way to block it. What do we want to be there so that it doesn't encroach too much into the alley, to narrow it too much. I'm not sure exactly what the options are, but I mean, you can at least get some options as to what we'd want to do, put in there if we did go that route. Get that too.
That would be a good idea.
Yep.
Okay?
You wanted it, are we doing this the next meeting, or what, I guess, what's the preference?
Would we have enough time to get the count we need by the next meeting?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly, I don't know how long that would take, so probably not the next one.
Instead of the 1st, do the 14th,
The 15th?
15th?
Can do that.
Any other old or new business, council? Denise?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Ms. Rissel seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.